Today is my 40th wedding anniversary. I left the house early to pick up my husband's favorite cake from the bakery downtown. I wanted to surprise him, but while I was gone, my neighbor called me. Is someone supposed to be at your house? She asked. I just saw a woman unlock your front door and walk in like she owned the place. I drove home as fast as I could. When I opened my door, I found my husband sitting on our couch with a woman who looked young enough to be his granddaughter. She was wearing my bathrobe, and she called him baby. Let me start from the very beginning, because this story isn't just about today. It's not just about walking into my house and finding my husband with another woman. It's about 40 years of building a life together, brick by brick, promise by promise. It's about 3 children I brought into this world, 5 grandchildren I adore more than life itself, and decades of memories that now feel like they belong to someone else's life. It's about the man I thought I knew better than I knew myself, and the stranger he turned out to be. My name is Barbara Jean Thompson. I was born on a cold February morning in 1957 in Chicago, Illinois, the youngest of 4 daughters. My parents, Martin and Eleanor Thompson, were hard-working people who believed in honesty, loyalty, and keeping your promises. My mother used to say, "Your word is your bond, Barbara. If you make a promise, you keep it, no matter what." I've lived my entire life by that principle. I kept every promise I ever made, including the ones I made to Tom Henderson 40 years ago today, when I promised to love him in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, until death do us part. Tom kept those promises too. For almost 40 years he kept them. And then he didn't, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about the beginning, about when Tom and I first met, because once upon a time, we had something real, something beautiful, something I thought would last forever. I was 28 years old, working as a secretary at Midwest Insurance Company in downtown Chicago. I'd been there for 6 years, working my way up from the reception desk to being the personal secretary to one of the senior partners. I was good at my job, organized, efficient, pleasant. I made decent money for a single woman in the 80s. I had my own small apartment in Lincoln Park, a reliable used car, and a good group of friends. Life was fine. Not exciting, but fine. Tom Henderson was 28 years old too, though his birthday was in November and mine was in February. So for a few months each year, I'd tease him about being older. He worked as a claims adjuster at Liberty Insurance, a different company but in the same building. Our companies shared the lobby, the elevators, the parking garage, and the little coffee shop on the corner called Maggie's. I noticed him the first day he started working in our building. It was hard not to notice him. He was tall, about 6'2", with dark brown hair that was always just a little bit messy, no matter how much he tried to comb it down. He had these warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, and he smiled a lot, at the security guard, the receptionist, the woman who sold newspapers in the lobby. He was one of those genuinely nice people who seemed to brighten up a room just by walking into it. I'd see him in the elevator sometimes, always in the morning, around 8:15, when I was heading up to the 7th floor, and he was heading to the 10th. He'd smile at me. I'd smile back. Sometimes he'd say, "Morning," and I'd say morning back. That was the extent of our interaction for the first 3 months. Then one day in March, I was standing in the lobby, waiting for the elevator, my arms loaded down with file folders that Mr. Peterson needed for a meeting. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened. Tom was already inside. When he saw me struggling with the files, he immediately pressed the door open button and stepped out to help me. "Here, let me get those," he said, taking half the files from my arms. "Oh, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, but I want to. These look heavy. We stepped into the elevator together. He pressed 7 for me, then 10 for himself. Thanks, I said. I'm Barbara, by the way. Tom, he said. I've been wanting to introduce myself for about 3 months now, but I kept chickening out. I laughed. Chickening out. All you had to do was say hello. I know, but you're really pretty and I get nervous around really pretty women. I felt my cheeks heat up. Well, thank you. That's very sweet. So, Barbara, he said, as the elevator climbed, this might be completely inappropriate, and if it is, just tell me to shut up and I will. But would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? At Maggie's? As in together, like on purpose? I couldn't help but smile at how nervous he looked. This tall, handsome man, who smiled at everyone, was nervous asking me for coffee. I would like that, I said. His whole face lit up. Really? You would? I would. How about after work today, around 5:30? 5:30 sounds perfect. The elevator reached the 7th floor. I took my files back from him. See you at 5:30, I said, as I stepped out. See you then, he said, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. I thought about him all day, through meetings and phone calls and typing up correspondence. I kept thinking about Tom Henderson and his nervous smile and the way he'd called me pretty. When 5:30 finally came, I practically ran to the lobby. He was already there, waiting by the elevator bank, and when he saw me, that same brilliant smile spread across his face. We went to Maggie's and ordered coffee. We sat in a corner booth and talked, and talked, and talked, about everything and nothing. He told me about growing up on a small farm in Iowa, the youngest of 2 boys. His older brother had taken over the family farm, but Tom had wanted something different. He'd gone to college, gotten a degree in business, moved to Chicago to start his career in insurance. His dream was to own his own agency someday. I told him about growing up in Chicago, with 3 older sisters, who'd all gotten married and moved away, about my parents, who still lived in the same small house where I'd grown up, about how I'd gone to community college for 2 years, gotten my secretarial certificate, and started working to help my parents with bills. You're close with your family? He asked. Very close. Sunday dinners at my parents' house are mandatory. All 4 of us sisters and our family. It's loud and chaotic and I love it. That sounds nice. My family's not big on gatherings. My brother and his wife are busy with the farm. My parents are getting older and don't travel much. I miss them, but I don't see them as often as I'd like. You should come to a Sunday dinner sometime, I said, then immediately felt my face flush. I mean, not this Sunday. That would be weird. But maybe someday? I'd like that, he said softly. Someday. We talked until Maggie's closed at 7. Then we stood on the corner outside, neither of us wanting to say goodnight. This was really nice, Tom said. It was. Can we do it again? Tomorrow? I laughed. Tomorrow? Don't you think we should space these out a little?
Why?
I already know I like you. Why should I wait to spend more time with you? Okay, I said. Tomorrow. We went to Maggie's the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Within a week, it was just understood that we'd meet there every day after work. Within 2 weeks, we'd progressed from coffee to dinner. Within a month, Tom had met my family at Sunday dinner and charmed every single one of them. My mother pulled me aside in the kitchen that first Sunday and said, Barbara, that's a good man. Don't let him get away. I didn't intend to. Tom and I dated for 2 years. They were the happiest 2 years of my life up to that point. Tom was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner. He was kind, genuinely kind, not just polite, but truly considerate of other people's feelings. He was funny, always making me laugh, with silly jokes or unexpected observations about the world. He was ambitious, working hard at his job, taking night classes to get additional certifications, always working toward his goal of opening his own agency. But more than anything, Tom made me feel special. He looked at me like I was the most interesting person in the world. He listened when I talked, really listened, remembered little details about things I'd mentioned weeks earlier. He brought me flowers for no reason. He'd leave little notes on my car windshield when he got to work before me. He introduced me to his parents when they came to visit, and I could see how proud he was to have me meet them. We had our first fight about 8 months in, something stupid about me being upset that he'd canceled plans because of work. I don't even remember the details now. What I remember is that Tom showed up at my apartment at midnight with ice cream and flowers and said, "I hate fighting with you. Can we please never go to bed angry?" We made a rule that night. No matter what we fought about, we'd talk it through before going to sleep. We kept that rule for almost 40 years, until the last year, when there was too much to talk through and too many lies between us. But back then, everything was perfect. Tom was perfect. We were perfect together. On my 30th birthday, Tom took me to Piccolo's, the Italian restaurant, where we'd had our first real date 2 years earlier. I should have known something was up because he'd been nervous all day, but I didn't suspect anything. We had a nice dinner, wine, dessert. Then, when the waiter brought the check, Tom stood up. "Barbara," he said, and his voice was shaking. "I have something I need to ask you." He got down on one knee right there in the middle of the restaurant. I heard someone gasp. Someone else started clapping. "Barbara Jean Thompson," Tom said, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "I love you more than I've ever loved anyone. You make me laugh. You make me want to be a better man. You make every single day brighter just by being in it. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Not a big diamond. We didn't have that kind of money yet, but a small, perfect diamond on a simple gold band. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "Yes," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Yes, yes." The whole restaurant erupted in applause. Tom slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me. I'd never been so happy in my entire life. We got married 6 months later, in September of 19. We had the ceremony at Catherine's, the same church where my parents had gotten married and where I'd been baptized. I wore my mother's wedding dress, which my sister Patricia had altered to fit me. Tom wore a navy blue suit he'd saved up for months to buy. We couldn't afford a fancy wedding, so we kept it simple. About 50 people, mostly family and close friends. My sister Patricia was my maid of honor. Tom's brother William was his best man. I remember standing at the back of the church, holding my father's arm, looking down the aisle at Tom standing at the altar waiting for me. He was crying, happy tears streaming down his face as he watched me walk toward him. When I reached him and my father placed my hand in his, Tom whispered, "You're so beautiful. I'm the luckiest man alive." We said our traditional vows, the ones about loving and cherishing, in sickness and health, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, as long as we both shall live. I meant every word. So did Tom. At least, I thought he did. We honeymooned for a long weekend at a bed and breakfast in Door County, Wisconsin. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. We spent 3 days walking on beaches, eating good food, and being completely wrapped up in each other. On our last night there, lying in bed with my head on Tom's chest, I remember thinking that I couldn't possibly be any happier than I was in that moment. This was it. This was my person. This was my forever. We came home to our tiny one-bedroom apartment on the north side of Chicago. Tom had moved in with me a month before the wedding, and we'd combined our things into what could charitably be called organized chaos. It was cramped and our furniture didn't match, and the neighbors upstairs were loud, but it was home. We both kept working, Tom at Liberty Insurance, me at Midwest. We'd ride the train together in the morning, holding hands, talking about our days ahead. We'd meet for lunch sometimes when our schedules allowed. We'd come home together in the evening, make dinner, watch TV, just enjoy being together. Life was simple, and good. We were saving money, both of us putting away part of every paycheck into a joint savings account we'd opened. We had goals: a house someday, children someday, Tom's own insurance agency someday. We were building towards something. Then, when I was 32, I got pregnant. We'd been married for 4 years, and we'd been talking about starting a family, but we'd been waiting until we had more savings. But then it happened, and we were thrilled. I remember the day I found out. I'd been feeling off for a few days, tired and nauseous. I took a pregnancy test on a Saturday morning, while Tom was still asleep. When the little plus sign appeared, I just stared at it for a full minute, not quite believing it. Then I ran into the bedroom and jumped on the bed. Tom, wake up. He sat up, disoriented. What? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I'm pregnant. He stared at me for a second, processing. Then his face broke into the biggest smile I'd ever seen. You're pregnant? We're having a baby? We're having a baby? He pulled me into his arms, and we both cried happy tears. We called our families that same day, even though we were only about 5 weeks along, and probably should have waited, but we were too excited to keep it to ourselves. The pregnancy was relatively easy, some morning sickness in the first trimester, but nothing terrible. Tom was wonderful through all of it. He'd rub my feet when they were swollen. He'd make midnight runs to the store when I had cravings. He'd talk to my belly, telling our baby about all the things they were going to do together. On a cold February morning, in 1991, I went into labor. 12 hours later, at 3:42 a.m., Michael Robert Henderson entered the world. He was 8 pounds, 2 ounces, 21 inches long, with a full head of dark hair just like his father. When the nurse placed Michael in Tom's arms for the first time, Tom looked down at our son and started crying. He's perfect, Tom whispered. Barbara, we made a perfect little human. I'd never loved Tom more than I did in that moment, watching him hold our baby with such tenderness and awe. Michael was a good baby. He slept reasonably well, ate well, hit all his milestones right on schedule. Tom was hands-on from day one. He'd wake up for the 2 a.m. feedings even though I was breastfeeding, just to keep me company. He'd change diapers without complaining. He'd walk Michael around the apartment for hours when he was fed. When Michael was 2, I got pregnant again. Sarah Rose Henderson was born in October of 1993. A tiny little thing, at 6 pounds even, but healthy and strong. She came out screaming, and pretty much didn't stop for the first 3 months. She was a terrible sleeper, colicky, fussy. Those were hard months. Tom and I were exhausted, running on no sleep, both still working full-time, trying to manage a newborn and a toddler in a one-bedroom apartment. We need more space, Tom said one night when we were both so tired we could barely function. Sarah was finally asleep after hours of crying. Michael was asleep in his toddler bed. Tom and I were collapsed on the couch. I know, but we can't afford more yet. Then I'll work harder. I'll take on extra hours. I'll figure it out. And he did. Tom started working longer hours, taking on additional responsibilities at work, anything to earn more money. I cut back to part-time at my job so I could stay home more with the kids. Money was tight, tighter than it had ever been, but we made it work. When Sarah was 2 and Michael was 4, I got pregnant with our third child. We hadn't planned it, but we were happy about it. David Thomas Henderson was born in June of 1995. He was an easy baby, thank God, because by that point, we were old pros at the parenting thing. 3 kids in 6 years. Looking back, I don't know how we survived those years. They're mostly a blur of diapers and feedings, and school drop-offs, and doctor's appointments, and constant, endless exhaustion. But they're also some of my happiest memories. Watching Tom play with our kids on the floor of our cramped apartment, reading bedtime stories together. Family dinners where the kids would tell us about their days. It was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. When David was 2, Tom finally achieved his dream. He'd been saving and planning and networking for years, and finally, he did it. He opened Henderson Insurance, his own agency. It was tiny, just him and one employee in a small office on the west side, but it was his. He was so proud. I was so proud of him. The first few years were tough. Tom worked even longer hours than before, building his client base, establishing his reputation. Money was still tight, but we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. The business was growing steadily. We were going to be okay. When David was 5, we finally did it. We bought our first house, a modest 3-bedroom ranch in the suburbs with a small yard and a 2-car garage. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was ours. The kids would each have their own room. Tom would have space for a home office. I'd have an actual dining room instead of eating at a cramped kitchen table. I cried the day we moved in. Happy tears. This was what we'd been working toward for 10 years. A real home for our family. The kids grew up in that house. Michael played baseball and football, and Tom coached his Little League team for years. Sarah discovered her love of art and spent hours in her room, drawing and painting. David was the academic, always at the top of his class, always reading something. Tom and I were at every game, every recital, every parent-teacher conference. We were involved parents, present parents. Tom's business continued to grow. We were doing well financially by the time the kids were in middle school. Not rich, but comfortable. We took modest vacations every summer. We could afford nice clothes and good schools. We were achieving the American dream. The kids went to college. Michael first, then Sarah, then David. Those were bittersweet years, saying goodbye to our children as they went off to start their own lives. But they were also good years for Tom and me. We rediscovered each other without kids in the house. We'd go on date nights. We'd take weekend trips. We talked about the future, about retirement, about travel, about all the things we'd do when Tom could finally slow down a bit. Then the grandchildren started coming. Michael married Jennifer and gave us Emma. Sarah married Robert and had the twins, Jack and Oliver. David married Lisa, and they had Nathan and Sophie. 5 beautiful grandchildren who brought so much joy into our lives. Tom and I settled into being grandparents. We babysat every chance we got. We hosted family dinners every Sunday. We were surrounded by family and love and everything I'd ever wanted. And then 2 years ago, everything started to change. It started small. Tom joining a gym at 66 years old, after never showing the slightest interest in exercise his entire life. Suddenly he wanted to work out 5 days a week. When I asked him about it, he said he wanted to stay healthy as he got older. It made sense. I was supportive. Then he started losing weight, lots of weight. He went from about 10 pounds down to 125 over the course of 6 months. He looked good, I had to admit, younger, fitter. But it was such a dramatic change. He bought new clothes, younger styles, fitted jeans and trendy shirts instead of his usual khakis and polo shirt. He grew his hair out and started using product in it. He bought expensive cologne. He was clearly trying to look younger. And I told myself it was just him dealing with aging, wanting to feel vital and attractive still. Then came the red Corvette. Tom had driven sensible sedans our entire marriage, practical, reliable family cars, and then one day he came home in a bright red Corvette convertible. "What do you think?" he asked, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "It's very red," I said. "I've always wanted one of these." And I realized, I'm 66 years old. If I'm ever going to do it, it's now or never. How much did it cost? Don't worry about it. The business is doing really well. We can afford it. We could afford it, technically. But it seemed so unlike Tom, so impractical, so midlife crisis. But I didn't say any of that. I just said, if it makes you happy, then I'm happy. Over the next months, the changes continued. He was home less and less, always at work, he said. Business was booming. He was busier than ever. I accepted it because he'd always been a hard worker. He started taking business trips to conferences, he said. One weekend a month, sometimes two. I'd never liked Tom traveling, but I understood it was part of running a business. His phone became his constant companion. He'd take it everywhere, even to the bathroom. He changed his passcode when I noticed and asked why. He said he'd read an article about phone security and wanted to be more careful. Our sex life dwindled to almost nothing. When I'd tried to initiate, there was always a reason we couldn't. He was tired, his back hurt, he had an early meeting after months of rejection. I stopped trying. I knew something was wrong. I felt it in my gut, but I told myself I was being paranoid. We'd been married for 38 years. Tom loved me. Tom would never cheat on me. That's what I told myself, over and over. Even as the evidence mounted, I mentioned my concerns to my sister Patricia, about 6 months ago. He's having a midlife crisis, she said confidently. Men do this, it doesn't mean anything. What if it means more than that, Barbara? Tom adores you. He's been devoted to you for 40 years. Do you really think he'd throw that away? I didn't want to think that, so I chose to believe Patricia. I chose to believe that Tom was just going through a phase, and that it would pass, and that everything would go back to normal. I was wrong. And that brings us to today. November, our 40th wedding anniversary. The day I woke up excited to celebrate 4 decades of marriage. The day I planned to surprise my husband with his favorite cake and a romantic dinner. The day I drove downtown to pick up that cake from Schmidt's Bakery. The day my neighbor Carol called me and said, "Is someone supposed to be at your house? I just saw a woman unlock your front door." I drove home in a panic, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The whole way I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe Tom had hired a house cleaner as a surprise for our anniversary. Maybe it was someone from his office, dropping something off. Maybe. But when I pulled into my driveway and saw the white BMW parked on the street, a car I didn't recognize, I knew with absolute certainty what I was about to walk in and find. I put my key in my front door. My hand was shaking so badly, I could barely turn it. I pushed the door open and stepped inside my house. Jazz music was playing, soft, romantic jazz, the kind Tom and I used to listen to when we were dating. There were women's high heels by the door. Expensive designer heels, not mine. I walked toward the living room on legs that felt like they might give out at any moment. And there they were. Tom was sitting on our couch. Our couch, the one we'd bought 15 years ago when we'd redecorated. The one where we'd cuddled and watched movies and fallen asleep during Sunday afternoon football games. The one where we'd sat with our grandchildren, reading them books and playing games. Next to him was a woman. A young woman. She couldn't have been more than 30 years old. She had long blonde hair, perfect makeup, flawless skin, a body that had clearly never carried a child or lived 68 years. She was wearing my bathrobe, my favorite bathrobe, the soft blue terry cloth one I'd gotten for Christmas 3 years ago from Sarah. They both turned when they heard me walk in. The woman's eyes went wide with shock. Tom's face went completely white. "Barbara," he said, shooting to his feet, "you're home early. I thought you were going to be gone until noon." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stood there in the doorway of my own living room, staring at my husband and this woman wearing my bathrobe. The woman stood up too, clutching the robe tighter around herself. "You must be Barbara," she said, and her voice was young and bright and cheerful, like this was a perfectly normal situation, like she hadn't just been caught sitting half naked with someone else's husband. "I'm Amber. It's really nice to finally meet." "Finally meet me? Finally? Tom?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "What is this?" "Barbara, just let me explain. What is this?" I said again, louder this time. "Who is she? Why is she in our house? Why is she wearing my bathrobe? Baby, you need to calm down. Don't call me baby." The words erupted out of me. "She just called you baby." I heard her. When I walked in, she said, "Baby, I think I left my phone in the bedroom." She called you baby. Amber looked uncomfortable for the first time. "Maybe I should go get dressed." "No," I said sharply. "You stay right there. Both of you. You stay right there, and you tell me what the hell is going on in my house on my 40th wedding anniversary." Tom ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I'd seen thousands of times over the years when he was stressed or worried or trying to figure out what to say. "Barbara, I didn't want you to find out like this. I was going to tell you. I was going to sit down with you and explain everything." "Find out what, Tom? That you're cheating on me? That you're having an affair? In our house? On our anniversary?" "It's not just an affair," Amber said quietly. I turned to look at her, really look at her, for the first time. She was beautiful in that effortless way. Young people are beautiful. Smooth skin, bright eyes, no wrinkles or age spots or sagging. Everything about her screamed youth and vitality, everything I wasn't anymore. "Excuse me?" I said. She looked at Tom, like she was asking permission to continue. He gave a slight nod. "I'm not just some affair," she said, her voice soft. "Tom and I are together. We're in a relationship. We're in love. We have been for over a year. Over a year. Over a year." The words hit me like a physical blow. For over a year, my husband had been sleeping with another woman. For over a year, he'd been coming home to me and kissing me goodnight and saying, "I love you," while having an entire secret life with someone else. "A year," I repeated numbly. "You've been doing this for a year." 14 months, actually, Amber said, like the extra 2 months mattered, like precision somehow made this better. "Barbara, please," Tom said, taking a step toward me. "Please sit down. Let's talk about this like adults." Like adults? I felt something snap inside me, something that had been holding me together for the past 5 minutes, the past 6 months, maybe the past 40 years. Like adults. I am an adult, Tom. I'm a 68-year-old woman who has given you the best years of her life, who gave you 3 children, who supported you when you were building your business, who took care of your mother for 2 years when she had Alzheimer's, and you were too busy to do it, who has loved you and trusted you and believed in you for 40 years, and you want to talk like adults. I know you're upset. Upset. I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. Upset is what you feel when someone cuts you off in traffic, Tom. Upset is what you feel when it rains on your picnic. This is not upset. This is, I don't even have words for what this is. I looked at Amber again. She was still standing there, in my bathrobe, looking uncomfortable, but not particularly ashamed. "How old are you?" I asked her. "I'm 32 years old. I had shoes older than her. I had canned goods in my pantry older than her." Tom was literally more than twice her age. "How did you two meet?" She glanced at Tom again. He nodded. "At the gym," she said. "About a year and a half ago. I'm a personal trainer there. Tom hired me to help him get in shape, and we just connected." "You connected," I repeated flatly. "At the gym, where he went supposedly to stay healthy, to take care of himself, for me, for our future together." It wasn't like that at first, Tom said. I really did join to get healthier, but Amber and I started talking during our sessions, and we had this connection that I hadn't felt in years. You hadn't felt in years, with me, your wife, the mother of your children. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Tom? Please explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you're saying you fell out of love with me, found someone younger, and prettier, and more fun, and decided to just, what? Keep both of us, me at home playing the loyal wife, while you had your fun with her. It's more complicated than that, than uncomplicated. Tell me the truth, for once in the past 14 months. Tell me the goddamn truth. Tom sat back down on the couch, his shoulders sagging. He suddenly looked every one of his 68 years. I don't know how to explain it in a way that won't hurt you even more. Tom, you're sitting in my living room with another woman wearing my bathrobe. I don't think you can hurt me any more than you already have. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I didn't fall out of love with you. I still care about you, Barbara. You're the mother of my children. You're my partner. You're... He trailed off. But, I prompted. There's clearly a but coming. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being husband and wife. We became roommates, business partners, co-parents. We went through the motions of being married. But the spark was gone. The passion was gone. We were just coexisting. And you thought the solution was to find a woman 40 years younger than you, and have a secret affair for over a year. I thought the solution was to find something that made me feel alive again, something that made me feel like more than just someone's husband and father and grandfather. Amber makes me feel like myself, like Tom. Not Tom the insurance agent or Tom the dad or Tom the grandfather, just Tom. I see you as Tom, I said, my voice breaking. I've always seen you as Tom. I've loved Tom for 40 years. No, he said quietly. You see the Tom I was when we met 40 years ago. But that Tom is gone, Barbara. I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. You've changed. We've both changed. And Amber sees who I am now. She accepts me as I am now. I looked at Amber. Does he tell you he loves you? She nodded. Does he tell you he's going to leave me for you? She hesitated, then nodded again. Tom, I said, my voice deadly calm. Today is our 40th wedding anniversary. Did you tell her that? His silence was answer enough. He told me. Amber said. He told me it was your anniversary. That's why I came over. He said you'd be out most of the day, and we could spend time together since he'd have to spend the evening with you. How thoughtful, I said. So you knew today was our 40th anniversary. And you still came here. You still got into bed with my husband in my house, wearing my bathrobe on my anniversary. Tom told me, you two were basically over, she said, a hint of defensiveness in her voice now. He said you were only staying together out of habit and financial convenience, that you hadn't been really married in years, that you were planning to divorce soon anyway. Planning to divorce soon, I repeated slowly. Tom, did we have a conversation about getting divorced that I somehow missed? Did you at any point in the last 40 years sit down with me and say, Barbara, I think we should end our marriage? He shook his head. So you told her we were getting divorced without ever actually discussing it with me. You just decided, unilaterally, that our marriage was over and started planning your new life with your girlfriend. I was going to tell you, I was going to sit you down after the holidays. After the holidays, so you were going to spend Thanksgiving with me, and Christmas with me, and New Year's with me, all while planning to leave me, all while sleeping with her. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't want to hurt me. Tom, you're sitting in my living room, with your mistress wearing my bathrobe on our 40th anniversary. So, how exactly did you think this wouldn't hurt me? He didn't have an answer for that. How long has she been coming here? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. To our house. How long? A few months, he admitted. Since summer. Since summer. So for 6 months, while I've been living my life, going to my book club, and having lunch with Patricia, and visiting the grandkids. You've been bringing her here, into our home, into our bedroom. I'm guessing. He nodded. Does she have a key? Yes. You gave her a key to my house. It's my house too, Barbara. Our house, Tom. Our house that we bought together 30 years ago, with money we earned together, and you gave a key to your mistress, without ever asking me, without ever thinking that maybe, just maybe, I might have a problem with another woman having free access to my home. I didn't think you'd find out. Well, I did find out, because apparently, you two got sloppy, because my neighbor saw her walk in with a key, and called me because she's a decent human being, who thought it was strange. Tom's expression changed. Carol called you? Yes, Carol called me. She saw Amber walk into my house, like she owned the place, and thought I should know. Unlike you, who apparently thinks I'm too stupid to notice that my husband is living a double life. I looked around my living room, at all the photos on the walls, our wedding photo, photos of the kids at various ages, photos of the grandchildren, photos of Tom and me at different stages of our lives, all of it meaningless now, all of it alone. You need to leave, I said quietly. Barbara, both of you need to get out of my house, right now. This is my house too, Tom said again. Then you can come back later with a police escort to get your things. But right now, at this moment, I want both of you out of my sight before I do something I regret. Amber moved first. She grabbed the overnight bag I hadn't noticed sitting by the couch and headed for the stairs. I'll just go get dressed. Take the robe, I said coldly. I don't want it anymore. I don't want anything in this house that you've touched. She hesitated, then nodded and kept the robe on, grabbing her clothes from the bag instead. She got dressed in my living room, right there in front of us, pulling on jeans and a sweater. Then she slipped on her expensive heels and headed for the door. I'm sorry, she said, as she passed me. I really am. I didn't mean for this to happen like this. Get out, I said. She left quickly, practically running to her white BMW and driving away. Tom stood there, looking at me. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe that. I don't have to believe anything anymore. Not after this. We're going to have to talk eventually, figure out logistics. The house, the business, our assets. We have 40 years of life together, Barbara. We can't just throw that away. You already threw it away. The first time you kissed her, the first time you touched her, the first time you brought her to our home. You threw it away, then. I'm just catching up. I'll call you tomorrow. When you've had time to calm down, when you're thinking more clearly, we can talk about, Tom, if you value your life at all, you will leave, right now. He walked to the door, then turned back one more time. For what it's worth, I really do still care about you. Get out of my house. After he left, I stood in my living room for a long time. I looked at the jazz music still playing from his phone that he'd left on the coffee table. I looked at the indentations on the couch, where they'd been sitting. I looked at the fresh flowers I'd bought that morning, still in their bag on the kitchen counter, meant to beautify our anniversary dinner. Then I walked upstairs to our bedroom. The bed was unmade, sheets tangled. There were 2 glasses of water on the nightstand, one on my side, one on his side, except it wasn't his side anymore. It was her side now. She'd been sleeping in my bed. I walked into the bathroom. There were 2 damp towels on the floor. They'd showered together, in my bathroom, using my towels, my soap, my everything. I picked up the towels and threw them in the trash can. Then I went to the closet. That's when I really lost it. On Tom's side of the closet, mixed in with his clothes, were women's clothes, dresses, skirts, blouses, pants, shoes on the floor, a jewelry box on the shelf. She hadn't just been visiting. She'd been living here. She had a whole wardrobe in my closet. I pulled everything out, every single item. I threw them on the floor in a pile. Dresses, and shoes and shirts, and pants, and jewelry, all of it. I got garbage bags from downstairs and stuffed everything in. 5 bags total. I carried them downstairs one by one and threw them out my front door, onto the lawn. Let her come back for them. Let the neighbors see. I didn't care anymore. Then I went back inside, sat down on my living room floor, and cried. I cried for the woman I'd been that morning, excited about her anniversary, completely unaware that her entire life was a lie. I cried for 40 years of memories that now felt tainted. I cried for the future I'd thought we'd have together, the retirement years I'd imagined, the growing old together that would never happen now. I cried until I had no tears left. Then I called Patricia. "Patty," I said, when she answered. My voice was hoarse from crying. "Can you come over?" "Sure, honey. Is everything okay?" No, everything is not okay. Tom's been having an affair for over a year with a 32-year-old woman. I found them together today, in our house, on our anniversary. She was wearing my bathrobe. Can you please just come over?" Silence on the other end. "Then I'm on my way. I'm leaving right now. Stay there. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She made it in 15. I let her in and immediately fell into her arms. "Oh, Barbara," she said, holding me tight. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I'm so stupid." All the signs were there. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to be that paranoid wife who doesn't trust her husband. "You're not stupid. You trusted him because you had 40 years of reasons to trust him. That doesn't make you stupid. That makes you a good one. He's the one who broke that trust." Patricia helped me up off the floor and led me to the kitchen. She made tea while I sat at the table and told her everything, every detail, finding them on the couch, Amber in my bathrobe, the clothes in my closet, Tom giving her a key, the lies, all of it. "He told her we were getting divorced," I said. "He told her our marriage was basically over, but he never said a word to me about it. He just decided it was over and started his new life." "What are you going to do?" Patricia asked. "I'm going to file for divorce, first thing tomorrow. I'm going to call a lawyer, and I'm going to end this marriage before he can do any more damage." "Are you sure?" "Maybe you should take some time to think." "I'm sure, after what he did, after he brought her into our home, gave her a key, let her keep clothes in my closet. There's no coming back from this. I could never trust him again. I could never look at him without seeing them together on that couch. I'm done, Patty. I'm done." Patricia squeezed my hand. "Then I'm here for whatever you need. Whatever you decide to do, I'm here." She stayed with me that night. We talked until the early hours of the morning, about Tom, about the affair, about 40 years of marriage that were ending, about what came next, about how I was going to tell the kids. The next morning, after Patricia left, I started making calls. First, I called Helen Morrison, a divorce attorney Patricia had recommended. Helen had a reputation for being tough and for getting her clients everything they deserved. "Mrs. Henderson," Helen said when I called her office. "Patricia told me you might be calling. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. When can you come in?" "As soon as possible." "How about this afternoon? 2 o'clock? I'll be there." At 2 o'clock, I sat in Helen's office and told her everything. She took notes, asked questions, nodded sympathetically in all the right places. "Here's what we're going to do," she said, when I finished. "We're going to file immediately. We're going to ask for the house, half of his business, half of all marital assets, and spousal support. You supported his career for 40 years. You raised his children. You enabled him to build his business. You're entitled to half of everything, and I'm going to make sure you get it. He's going to fight me on the business. He built it. He'll say he deserves more of it. He built it with your support. While you were home raising his children and running his household, he was free to focus entirely on work. Your contribution enabled his success. We'll make sure the court sees that. Over the next few days, I started the process, signed papers, made plans, prepared for battle. But the hardest part was telling the kids. I called Michael first, my oldest, my protective son, who'd always been close to his father. Mom? He answered. Hey, what's up? Michael, honey, are you home? Can you talk? Yeah, I'm home. Jennifer's at work. The kids are at school. What's going on? You sound upset. I took a deep breath. I need to tell you something, and it's not easy to say. So I'm just going to say it. Your father's been having an affair for over a year. I found out yesterday. We're getting divorced. Silence. Complete silence for at least 10 seconds. Then, what? Dad? Are you absolutely sure? I'm sure. I caught them together in our house yesterday on our anniversary. Oh my God, Mom. I can't even. Who is she? Her name is Amber. She's 32 years old. She's his personal trainer from the gym. 32. Mom, that's younger than me. That's younger than Sarah. That's disgusting. How could he do this? How could he throw away 40 years of marriage, his whole family for some 32-year-old? I don't know, honey. Does he have any idea what he's done? What he's destroyed? I can't believe this. This isn't like Dad. This doesn't seem real. I know, but it is real, and I need you to know that I'm okay, or I will be okay, eventually. I just wanted you to hear it from me, before you heard it from someone else. I'm coming over, right now. You shouldn't be alone. Michael, you don't have to. Mom, I'm coming over. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He showed up 15 minutes later with Jennifer. They both hugged me, and Michael held on for a long time, like he was afraid to let go. I'm so sorry, Mom, he said. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. I know. But still, you don't deserve this. You've been nothing but a good wife to him. You've supported him through everything, and this is how he repays you? We sat in the living room and talked. Michael was furious, pacing back and forth, saying he wanted to call Tom and tell him exactly what he thought of him. Please don't, I said. Not yet. Let me handle this my way. I need to get through the next few weeks without this turning into a war. It is a war, Mom. He declared war on this family when he started that affair. I know, but I need to fight this battle my way. Can you let me do that? He nodded reluctantly. After Michael and Jennifer left, I called Sarah, my artistic, sensitive daughter, who'd always been a daddy's girl. Hi, Mom, she answered cheerfully. What's up? Sarah, honey, I need to tell you something. Okay, her tone changed immediately. What's wrong? Your father and I are getting divorced. What? Why? Mom, what happened? He's been having an affair. I found out yesterday. I heard her gasp, then silence, then crying. Sarah, honey, how could he do this? She sobbed. How could Dad do this to you? To us? I can't believe it. Mom, this can't be real. I know, sweetheart, but it is real. Who is she? Who's he having an affair with? Her name is Amber. She's 30. They've been together for over a year. 32. She's younger than me. Oh my God. Mom, I feel sick. I actually feel sick. We talked for over an hour. Sarah cried. I cried. By the end, she was saying she wanted to fly home from New York immediately, but I told her to stay. I have Patricia here. I have Michael and Jennifer nearby. I'll be okay. I just needed you to know. Mom, I love you so much, and I'm so sorry. Finally, I called David, my youngest, always the most analytical, the one who processed things logically before emotionally. Hey Mom, what's going on? David, I need to tell you something difficult. Okay, what is it? Your father's been having an affair for over a year. We're getting divorced. A long pause. Then, I suspected something was going on. You did? Yeah. Dad's been acting really strange for months. Really strange. The way he was dressing. The gym obsession. Always on his phone. the business trips. It all seemed off. I hoped I was wrong, but part of me knew. Why didn't you say anything? What was I supposed to say? Hey mom, I think dad might be cheating on you, based on a vibe. I didn't have proof. I didn't want to plant seeds of doubt if I was wrong. I was hoping I was just being paranoid. I wish you'd said something. I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. I should have. Maybe if I'd said something, you could have confronted him sooner, and nothing would be different. He's been lying to me for 14 months. A few weeks more or less wouldn't have changed anything. How are you doing? Really? Honestly, I don't know. I'm angry and hurt, and sad and relieved all at the same time. Does that make sense? It makes perfect sense. What do you need from me? Just be there. That's all. Just be there. Over the next week, Tom tried to contact me constantly. Phone calls, texts, showing up at the house. I ignored all of it. I had nothing to say to him. Finally, he showed up with his lawyer. They came to discuss the terms of the separation. As his lawyer put it, we met at Helen's office. Tom looked terrible, like he'd been sleeping in his car. He probably had been, since Amber had apparently dumped him after I'd thrown her clothes on the lawn, and the neighbors had The meeting was tense. Tom's lawyer, a man named Richard Bennett, tried to take control of the conversation immediately. Mrs. Henderson, my client wants to make this dissolution of marriage as amicable as possible. He's willing to be generous. Generous? Helen interrupted. Your client had a 14-month affair, gave his mistress a key to the marital home, allowed her to store her possessions in the marital home, and betrayed 40 years of marriage. There's nothing amicable or generous about that. Be that as it may. Be that as it may, Helen continued. Mrs. Henderson is entitled to half of all marital assets, including half the value of Mr. Henderson's business, which she enabled him to build through 40 years of support. The business is my client's sole creation, created during the marriage, with the support of his wife who raised his children and managed his household, allowing him to focus entirely on work. Half the business value goes to Mrs. Henderson. The back and forth went on for hours. Tom wanted to keep more of the business. Helen fought for my share. Tom wanted to split the house sale 50-50. Helen insisted I keep the house. Your client can live wherever he wants, Helen said coldly. Mrs. Henderson is keeping her home. In the end, after 3 separate meetings and weeks of negotiation, we reached a settlement. I got the house, half the value of Tom's business paid out over 5 years, half of all our retirement accounts, half of all our other assets. Tom got his Corvette and his freedom to live whatever life he wanted with whatever 32-year-old he could find. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. April 15, 2026, tax day, seemed appropriate. I didn't go to the final hearing. Helen represented me. She called me afterward. It's done, she said. You're officially divorced. How are you feeling? I don't know. Empty, I guess. 40 years of marriage ended with a judge's signature. It feels surreal. You did the right thing. He didn't deserve you. Maybe she was right. Maybe she was. All I knew was that it was over. Tom Henderson was no longer my husband. I was no longer Barbara Henderson. I was Barbara Thompson again, starting over at 69 years old. During those 6 months between filing and finalization, I started therapy. Patricia had recommended a therapist named Lisa Morrison, and I started seeing her twice a week. Tell me how you're feeling, Dr. Morrison said in our first session. I don't know how I'm feeling. I feel everything and nothing at the same time. That's normal. You're grieving not just the end of your marriage, but the loss of the future you thought you'd have. That's a profound loss. Over the weeks and months, Dr. Morrison helped me process everything. The betrayal, the anger, the sadness, the guilt. You feel guilty? She asked when I mentioned it. Part of me wonders if this is my fault, if I wasn't enough, if I didn't try hard enough to keep him interested. Barbara, let me be very clear about something. His affair is not your fault. Affairs happen because someone makes a choice to break their vows. That's on him, not you. But maybe if I'd been prettier, or more fun, or more. Stop. You could have been a supermodel who cooked gourmet meals every night and gave him back rubs, and it wouldn't have mattered. He made a choice, a selfish choice, and that choice says everything about him and nothing about you. Those sessions helped. Slowly, very slowly, I started to feel like maybe I'd be okay. I also started to change my house. I couldn't stand looking at all the reminders of Tom everywhere, so I redecorated. I got rid of the furniture that reminded me of him. I painted the walls new colors. I bought new curtains, new dishes, new bedding. I made the house mine, and mine alone. Patricia was there almost every day. She'd come over with food, with wine, with just her presence. We'd sit and talk, or sometimes just sit in comfortable silence. "You're so strong," she told me one day about 3 months after the divorce was final. "I don't feel strong. I feel broken." You can be both. Strong people aren't the ones who never break. Strong people are the ones who get up every morning even when they feel broken, and you're doing that every single day. About 8 months after the divorce, Patricia mentioned something over lunch. I heard something through the grapevine about Tom. I looked up from my salad. "What?" "He and Amber broke up about a month ago." "They did?" "Apparently she left him for someone closer to her own age, some guy she met at the gym, 28 years old." I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me felt vindicated. See? His affair didn't work out. It wasn't this great love he'd thrown everything away for. It was just a midlife crisis that imploded. But part of me felt nothing. Tom's life was no longer my concern. "He tried to call you," Patricia said. "Didn't he?" "How did you know?" "Because he called me last week, asked me to talk to you to see if you'd be willing to meet with him, to hear him out." "What did you tell him?" "I told him to leave you alone, that he'd done enough damage, and you were moving forward with your life." A few weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, I was working in my garden when I heard a car pull up. I looked up and saw Tom's Corvette. He got out and walked toward me. He looked terrible. He'd gained back all the weight he'd lost, plus more. His hair was gray and thin. He looked old and tired and defeated. "Barbara," he said. "Tom, what are you doing here? I wanted to talk to you. Please, just 5 minutes." I stood up, brushing dirt off my gardening gloves. Against my better judgment, I nodded. We sat on the porch steps, keeping a careful distance between us. "I made a mistake," Tom said. "Yes, you did. A huge mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. Amber and I broke up. I heard. I realize now what I threw away, what I had with you, Barbara. I was an idiot, a complete and total idiot." "Yes, you were. Is there any chance at all that we could try again? That we could work through this?" I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd been my husband for 40 years. This man I'd loved with everything I had. This man who'd destroyed us. "No," I said simply. "Barbara, please, I know I hurt you. I know what I did was unforgivable, but we had 40 years together. Doesn't that count for something? Doesn't that mean we should at least try?" It did count for something. It counted for everything, until you decided it didn't. You don't get to throw away 40 years of marriage, and then pick it back up when your affair doesn't work out. I love you. I never stopped loving you. No, Tom, you don't love me. You love the security I represented. You love having someone to come home to. You love not being alone, but you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done what you did. You wouldn't have given her a key to our house. You wouldn't have let her wear my bathrobe. You wouldn't have let her keep clothes in my closet. I made a choice, a terrible choice. But can't people learn from their mistakes? You didn't make one mistake, Tom. You made 1,000 little choices, every day for 14 months. You chose her over me. You chose lies over truth. You chose your ego over our marriage. Those weren't mistakes. That was who you decided to be. So that's it? We're just done? After 40 years? We were done the moment you gave her a key to our house. I'm just the only one who knows it. Tom stood up slowly. I'm sorry for everything. I'm truly sorry. I know you are, and I accept your apology, but that doesn't change anything. We're still done. He walked to his car and drove away. I watched him go and felt nothing, no sadness, no anger, no regret, just nothing. And I realized that was okay. I didn't have to feel anything for him anymore. A few months later, Michael called about Nathan's birthday party. Mom, Nathan's turning 7 next weekend. We're having a party at our house. Can you come? Of course, I wouldn't miss it. Dad's coming too. Is that okay? I mean, I know it might be awkward. It's fine, Michael. It's Nathan's day. I can be in the same place as your father for a few hours. For my grandson's birthday. The party was on a Saturday afternoon. I arrived with a wrapped present and a smile on my face. The house was full of kids running around, balloons everywhere. The chaos of a children's birthday party. Tom was already there when I arrived. He was standing by himself near the drinks table, looking uncomfortable. We made eye contact. I nodded. He nodded back, and that was it. We didn't speak. We stayed on opposite sides of the yard. We both smiled for photos with Nathan. We both sang happy birthday. We both acted like civilized adults who just happened to have 40 years of history and a messy divorce between them. After the party, as I was getting ready to leave, Michael walked me to my car. You okay, Mom? I'm fine, really. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Dad asked about you, wanted to know how you were doing. What did you tell him? I told him you were doing great, that you were better off without him. I smiled and kissed Michael's cheek. That's my boy. Love you, Mom. Love you too, honey. That was almost a year ago. I'm 69 now, and I've been officially divorced for a year and a half. And you know what? I'm happy, really genuinely happy, in a way I wasn't for the last few years of my marriage. I travel now. Patricia and I just got back from 2 weeks in Italy. We ate amazing food, saw incredible art, walked along the Amalfi Coast, and laughed until our sides hurt. We're planning a trip to Greece for next summer. I've taken up painting. I'm not very good yet, but I enjoy it. I set up an easel in what used to be Tom's office, and I paint for hours, losing myself in colors and brushstrokes. I volunteer at the local animal shelter twice a week. I walk dogs and socialize cats, and help out wherever they need me. It feels good to be useful, to be helping. I spend time with my grandchildren, so much time. I babysit whenever Michael and Jennifer need me. I drive up to New York to see Sarah and the twins. I FaceTime with David's kids every week. I've made new friends through my volunteer work and my painting class. I go out to dinner with them, to movies, to museums. I have a full life that's entirely mine. I heard through the grapevine that Tom is dating again. Someone younger, I assume. Someone who makes him feel young and vital and special. Good for him. I genuinely mean that. I hope he's happy. His happiness is no longer my concern. Today is November 15th, 2026. It would have been my 41st wedding anniversary if I were still married to Tom Henderson, but I'm not married to Tom Henderson. I'm Barbara Thompson, divorced, 69 years old, living my best life. This morning, I woke up in my own bed, in my own house, that's decorated exactly how I want it. I had coffee on my porch, while watching the sunrise. Later, Patricia and I are going to that new French restaurant downtown that everyone's been talking about. Then we're seeing a movie. Tomorrow I'm babysitting Emma, while Michael and Jennifer go out for their anniversary. I'm not the woman I was 2 years ago when I found Tom with Amber. That woman died that day, wearing my favorite bathrobe on my 40th wedding anniversary. But the woman I am now, she's better, she's stronger, she's wiser, she knows her worth. She knows that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. She knows that it's never too late to start over, to build a new life, to find joy again. And she's finally truly, completely free. Tom Henderson broke my heart, But he also set me free, free to be just Barbara, not somebody's wife, not somebody's mother, not somebody's grandmother, just me, Barbara. And that's more than enough.